Hello, Galaxy! I'm Chris Pirillo, and I have been using macOS Ventura for a few hours now. I was happy to see the update, because I remember back in the day when operating system updates cost money. Well, not all the operating system updates, but certainly new operating systems could be different. And I would say different enough that operating system versions and releases could very well be warranted, right? Not just minor bumps in features and functionality. Over time, and maybe it's just my age, I get nervous when a new OS comes down the pike, no matter who makes that OS, because there are changes that come with it. Hopefully, most of those changes would be good, but I was nervous because I was already having issues with macOS in a couple of areas that I'll get into. I thought I'd talk about the good and the bad in my experience with macOS Ventura. So far, I was not running the beta, wasn't going to be doing that. Some of y'all are daring, hey, knock yourselves out. Me, I play it safe, so I waited. The good, as far as I'm concerned, the number one feature isn't even Stage Manager at all. Like, I used Stage Manager, I tried it, I toggled it on, because you can do that really, really easily from the menu bar in your control center, or whatever the hell they're calling that section. And I tried it, and I'm like, yeah, no. I have multiple monitors here, and it worked. It was nice, but I guess the way that I'm used to window managing, especially with multiple monitors, I don't really need that feature. Now, when I'm driving a single screen, it may be viable to use something like this particular feature, Stage Manager, their tentpole feature. But to me, that's not the good of Ventura. The good, if not the best part of Ventura, only comes if you have an iPhone. Like, if you don't have an iPhone, I feel you're missing out on the best part of Ventura, and that's continuity camera. And I haven't even taken advantage of everything that continuity camera has to offer, right? The idea of continuity camera brings re-incubate camo-like features to macOS, meaning you can mount your connected device, your iOS device, as a webcam, directly connected to your Mac, and it'll pull it up. And you can even use features like portrait mode, or what do they call it? Stage lighting, and there's another feature, center stage. So you can turn on all those features right there natively as a webcam. Better than any webcam you could probably buy these days for, just a simple, straightforward, single webcam view. Re-incubate Camo, again, I've got to say this, is still my favorite, because Re-incubate Camo has more features and functionality, pushes higher FPS, especially for recording and broadcasting. And I can use it on macOS, Windows, with Android or iOS. Plus, I can use Re-incubate Camo over Wi-Fi, not just a direct connection. I haven't picked up the mount for the back of the Mac yet, but I do have it on order, because with that, it more directly connects without being, I guess, wired. It connects somehow to your Mac that way when it's attached to the back of your screen, much like, in the same position of a traditional webcam on a laptop screen. But just trying it, I'm like, whoa, the quality. Oh, chef's kiss. It was so good. I'm like, wow. Like, you have no idea what you're missing until you've used your webcam or your phone as a webcam. So if you don't have that feature and you want it, if you're on Windows or you don't have an iPhone, Re-incubate Camo is a solution. I'm still going to be using it. I'm still going to be running it for all the aforementioned reasons. But continuity camera was, as far as I'm concerned, magical. I did run into some issues, and it could have been that it got picked up by some software, and the hook that tied into it caused a lockup or a freeze. It didn't quite work as expected, so I had to log out and relog in, and then the glitch cleared up. Could be a bug in the release. I don't know. I only ran into that particular issue with it, though. This is probably my favorite part of this operating system so far. Continuity camera is awesome, but I run multiple external monitors. These monitors push high frame rates, right? So I have, I accidentally toggled Siri on my desktop. How did I do that? Oh, macOS Ventura. And the problem I have with these screens, not because of the high refresh rate, it's they use adaptive refresh rate, and older versions of macOS would constantly fall back on the adaptive refresh, and that would be a problem because the screen would flash, it wouldn't toggle correctly when I wanted to connect to it. Every time I turned on the monitor, I'd always have to go into System Preferences, which is now called System Settings, and toggle it and say force 144 hertz. macOS Ventura defaults to 144 hertz, not using adaptive rate. So they finally seemingly fixed the bug. Like at login, it goes to 144, and I'm able to go flip to that particular that input, whether it's DisplayPort or USB-C, and it goes right to the high refresh without going to adaptive. So that's going to potentially save me so much time and frustration. So that was a bug, a huge bug. I'm not the only one who's run into it, that they fixed. So good on you, Apple. I'm glad you did that. And again, I've only been using it for a few hours, but in testing, they fixed the problem that I was running into. The system settings layout is different. It's very much like iOS in terms of feel. I don't really have a strong feeling one way or another. System preferences, now system settings, needed to be rebooted. This seems like a decent upgrade. Finding where various settings are may be a challenge, but of course the inline search reminds you a lot of the way the iOS search has been. You could also search for system settings from within Spotlight, and go directly. Although sometimes when I've searched for something within Spotlight, it jumps me to the pane, but not specifically to the feature within that particular pane. That's not really a pane. It's not as direct as I feel it could be, the search and the search results. But it's going to take some new muscle memory. But, once you got things set up, for the most part, it should be fine. I have reduced motion turned off because I find that I'm able to get in and out of things quicker. I like the fading of animation, specifically in my use case when I go full screen with apps, rather than the sliding around, and I see some screen tearing even on ProMotion display. So system settings, I'm not going to say it is a huge upgrade. I'm not going to say it's a huge improvement. It's just different at this point. Love the weather app. Would certainly love it more. Would I be able to turn off the My Location feature? Because the only way the My Location feature works is if you're on Wi-Fi. If you're directly connected by way of Ethernet and you don't have Wi-Fi turned on, you can't remove My Location. You can't remove it. You can't delete it. And the only way to get the My Location weather in the weather app is to turn on Wi-Fi. So it's constantly just this nil at the top of the weather app. And it's annoying, but how often am I going to be getting into the weather app? Probably not terribly often. It's just nice to have a weather app on the desktop. Hopefully they'll update it so that you can remove the My Location at some point in the future, especially for those of us who aren't using Wi-Fi. I know, we're really weird, I guess. But I loved when I had when I was testing reduced motion, having it turned off, or I guess having motion turned on. I love the animation of the rain falling and bouncing off the elements. A lot of detailed information. It's easily, I see myself going into the weather app, frequently enough when I want to see forecasts. A lot of good detailed information from the desktop. The clock app, yes, not that I'm going to be using it that often. Most of the way I set my alarms anymore, not on the desktop, but my watch, because I always have it on me. Even when I'm sleeping, my alarms always get set here. I'm like, set my alarm for blah, 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 and then I'm good to go. So a lot of good to be found in macOS Ventura. There are some other apps that you might use that I don't use, like the Mail app or Messages that, will be awesome for you. I don't know what your favorite feature happens to be. Just curious to know. But those were the ones that really jumped out at me as the good. Now the bad, Stage Manager. Granted, it's not Stage Manager on the iPad. Oh man, I have not heard good things about that at all. The Stage Manager works, but on multi-monitor systems, which is my typical use case, not as useful. In fact, the window, when I had Stage Manager running with all the desktops or all the screens on, just to try it, in trying to move the window into Stage Manager, it glitched and it flashed it splashed on the other screen. I'm like, yeah, this is off. I'm done. Nope. Nope. Not going to do it. Not going to have this as an issue, because when you're multi-monitor, it's an issue because it thinks are you moving it to the second screen? Or are you moving it to Stage Manager? It flashed. I'm like, no, I'm done. But I will probably use Stage Manager when I am just on the single screen, which isn't that often. I feel it will be a benefit specifically on macOS, single screen macOS devices, but multi-monitors, not so much. I already mentioned the weather location issue, a small issue. One other thing that I've run into, and maybe you know how to turn this off. If you do, please let me know, because it's somewhat annoying. I use Spotlight. I used to use Alfred way back in the day. Not so much anymore, but in searching for something, for some reason, and I looked through all the check marks and all the check boxes, developer things show up. Like if I search for, let's see here, auxiliary, I don't know, search the web, no, let's search for Jedi. For some reason, developer shows up. I searched for Jedi, and a developer section shows up. I'm like, what is up with that? Like, why did that happen? I mean, you get photos now, you know, that's cool. I turn those on, but like, why do I have a developer section? Where do I turn that off? Like, I don't have it indexed documents. I don't want to see documents or emails or any of that crap. Usually I search for things to search the web. It's a quick, easy way of Googling or searching the web, or potentially even searching Finder, searching settings, bookmarks. I don't really use it because I don't use Safari. But why do I have developer showing up in Spotlight? There's no toggle for it in the settings. And I've looked. I'm like, what am I missing? Why is I wasn't on the beta. I don't have any developer tools installed to my knowledge, but it was there. So there are some things that don't quite work the way I think they should, or I've come across a couple hiccups, but I'm running. Like, I'm relatively problem-free, or any problems that I've run into have been, either mitigated, or I figured out, oh, this is what it's trying to do, like the Wi-Fi issue with the weather app, or specifically the continuity camera not working at one point, and I had to log out and re-log in, and it was fine. Glitches that could very well be cleared up at some point in the future. I don't know if that continuity camera is going to be a problem, an impediment for me moving forward. I'm not sure how often I'm going to be using it. I have it turned on right now because I have guest star turned on for Twitch. So if you're a subscriber on Twitch, you can join me as a guest star in my live videos. Not that a lot of subscribers are taking advantage of that right now, but it's nice to have it there as an option. And I already have the iPhone that I'm using as a camera connected to Reincubate Camo. So I've got more flexibility with macOS Ventura than I had before. Relatively hassle-free. It was a pretty fast update. Once I was able to download it, I was kind of surprised. I'm like, that actually updated quicker than I was expecting. Like, I thought it would take a lot longer than it actually did. But for the most part, yeah, I would say this was a really solid upgrade. I'm hoping that the glitches will be addressed. I'm not sure what you all feel about it. The good, the bad, the ugly. Did you have any other bugs that you had on previous versions of macOS fixed that you you didn't see in a changelog, but suddenly things that weren't working suddenly work? I'm so happy about the multi-monitor adaptive refresh rate glitch being addressed, because that is every day. I've been dealing with that every day for the past year. So to not deal with that bug anymore, I hope, keeping my fingers crossed.